If you remember, the armed forces of Pakistan promised you three things. We told you that we will give a befitting response to Indian aggression. We told you and we told the nation that, however, this response will be at the time, place, and method of our own choosing. And we also told the nation that when we will hit the Indians, the entire world will come to know. And we also told that you will not require the Indian media to report to you the phantom strikes that they said that Pakistan is taking place. Didn't we tell you all these three things? We told you. And we also told you that as these armed forces say, we ardently love to embrace Shahadat far more than you fear death. So again remember and see that didn't the whole world hear and report? Because that's what we promised. Your armed forces promised and delivered that. So did you find even there from the Indian statements that did Pakistan attack anything other than military targets? No. Did any international media, even Indian media, what are they reporting? Precise targeting of the military installations, posts. We told you that we don't target civilians. Our religion does not allow us. Our culture does not allow us. Our professionalism of these armed forces doesn't allow us. That we will never target civilians. So they are even acknowledging that. And they are also saying that once they received the message, once they got the message, then who asked for non-escalation? Who requested that they want non-escalation, that the things should go down? So it's for all to see. So now I will request first Vice Admiral Rab Nawaz to give you a short brief on the naval operations that were part of the Operation Bunyano Marsoos, followed by Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb on the air operations. And after that, we will take your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll very briefly talk about the role of Pakistan Navy in the defense of Pakistan during this particular crisis. And by the grace of Almighty Allah and with Almighty's help, we were able to defend Pakistan's sea frontiers and deter an enemy which is numerically superior. We kept the enemy at bay, and I'll just briefly talk about how we executed our operations. So essentially, protection of Pakistan's maritime interests in seaworld defense, that is the task of the Navy. And Alhamdulillah, with the help of Almighty Allah, we were able to do that. On any given day of the year, we maintain perpetual readiness. And what that means is that our ships and submarines, they are stocked up, all the military logistics are stocked up. And for us, the transition from peace to war is not only swift, it's almost invisible. And when this false flag thing happened in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we immediately mobilized and we completed the operational deployments of Pakistani Navy fleet units and also the coastal command units in matter of hours. Our submarines, our ships and aircraft, they were at in their respective areas where they were supposed to be, and we were ready to thwart any aggression from the sea. And go on to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, maritime domain awareness, that is essentially to know what is happening in your area of interest. That is critical for the naval operations. And I'll just briefly talk about that, because to generate any response, you need to be aware of the happening in your area of responsibility. And we were maintaining 24/7 vigil at sea. And okay. A couple of days back, there was a hype you heard about INS Vikrant, the project Karachi, and I'll just briefly tell you that we were keeping a very close eye on the activities at sea. And this is essentially the Indian Navy surface disposition throughout these days. They had a couple of ships in this particular area. They were moving around in this area. Another ship off Salalah, which was operating over there. And this is the much talked about the Indian carrier. We were monitoring it right from the day one. On 30th of April, it was here. Then it moved up here. Subsequently, it moved up here. And on the night of 6th and 7th May, it was back, close to Ratnagiri, very close to Mumbai. And then on 9th May, it was here, essentially 400 nautical miles away from Pakistani coast. And again, then it retreated back close to Mumbai. So we were keeping a very close track on this particular carrier movement. And there was no cause of concern at any time. If the carrier comes closer to 400 nautical miles and even closer, that essentially simplifies our problem. So we were, the Pakistan Navy Maritime Air Arm, in coordination with the strike component of Pakistan Air Force, they were cockpit ready to generate any kind of response at that time, at all times. And I was in constant communication with the Deputy Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Aurangzeb, at all times, and we were just ready. If there is any aggression from the sea, we were there to respond effectively. And let me say another thing. That is, you know about the carriers, you have seen them in the movies, but as a professional military officer, I don't want to underestimate the enemy, but let's put the things in the right perspective. The INS Vikrant and the carrier, the Western carrier, there's a huge difference. This is an aircraft carrier which essentially sailed with 8 to 12 MiG-29s, which was barely essential to carry out its own air defense. The purpose of the carrier is power projection and to ensure air superiority in a given sea area. So with this, less said the better. This is simply not possible, and the Indian Navy exactly knew this, and that is precisely why on the 9th of 6th and 7th, when they carried out this cowardly attack on the civilians, they moved this carrier to the safety of their own coast, well away from Pakistan's strike capability, close to this Ratnagiri area. And again, on the night of 9th and 10th, it was moved very close to the Mumbai. It was essentially 17 to 20 nautical miles off Mumbai. But we were keeping a track. We were fully aware of their movements in this area, and we were always ready to generate a response in coordination with the Air Force, especially in case of the aircraft carrier. Subsurface elements, the offensive element, they were offensively deployed. They were in their respective areas and ready to generate a response. And also, you might have seen this footage. We were not only in the surface domain, but we were essentially effectively monitoring their air surveillance things. And because of the operational security reason, I'll not talk much about how we did that, but we were keeping an eye on this particular activity as well. And likewise, in the subsurface domain, our anti-submarine warfare vigilance was all-time high. We were monitoring the movement of their submarines when they left their shores, and we exactly, had an idea where they would be, and we had our ASW surveillance and suppression effectively going on at all times. Likewise, another component of Pakistan Navy's responsibility is the defense of the Creek area. We had our coastal command units deployed over there in close coordination with headquarters 5 Corps elements, Pakistan Army elements, and they were poised to defend this particular area in case of any aggression from the south. Another important component is the protection of ports and harbors. You have just heard the DG ISPR talked about the subconventional threat that we witnessed. There was a surge in other part of the country, and we were, there were real-time apprehension that there may be a surge. So we ensured the protection of all ports and harbors of Pakistan, and coastal command elements, they effectively played a very, very important role in this. And just to mention that on the night of 6 and 7, when they carried out the attack on Pakistan, we were fully ready to respond to any aggression from the sea. We were just ready, and but the enemy chose not to come our way. It was essentially not a matter of choice. I would say it was a matter of compulsion, because enemy fully understood the cost it would have incurred had it ventured from the sea. And likewise, वापस जाइएगा go back please, go back. And a few words about the missile threat that you have talked about. You must have heard the enemy missile attack. We were keeping a very close eye on enemy deployment in this area, from where they can potentially launch a missile threat towards Karachi. We were fully aware, and we had our response ready to in that eventuality. And go on to the next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all operations, whatever we do in the military domain, they are to create certain effects. We look for the effects, and the effect that we created, we were able to resolutely, with our posture, we were able to deter the Indian Navy despite its numerical superiority. Number of times have more assets and more forces, and with an annual budget of like $13 billion. So Pakistan Navy, with its potential, with its posture, with its capability, was effectively able to deter the Indian Navy from doing any venture from the sea, alhamdulillah. And that is very, very important. That is essentially the job of the Navy, to ensure that the free flow of trade continues. That's the backbone of the economy. Our 95% of trade is through the sea.